Hi, I'm Billy, and today I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous decorative tray. A little while back, my mom reached out to me and asked me to make a decorative tray for my grandmother's birthday. And fortunately, it was a big hit. So she then asked me to make a second tray for someone that she knows. And this is what I came up with. Sons, listen to your mamas.
I grabbed a slab of maple from my basement. If you don't have a maple tree in your basement, don't worry, any basement tree will do. While it's nice to have all of this lumber in my basement, the downside is it's a lot of milling. I had to measure out all the parts that I needed from this slab and then cut them to rough length using the jigsaw and the bandsaw. Then it was on to milling and cutting them to their rough dimensions. I also cut the pieces for the tray bottom out of the same slab. The slab was thick enough that I could resaw the pieces to get 2 out of each board. I stickered all of the pieces so they could acclimate overnight.
We stickered all of our pieces so they could acclimate to the shop, so now we're going to mill them to their final dimensions.
My tray sides were milled to about 7/8 of an inch thick. I also laid out my tray bottom pieces and glued those together so they could be drying while I work on the rest of the tray. To help stack the deck in my favor, I used cauls to keep the panel flat during glue up.
We glued up the panel for the bottom of our tray, so while that's drying, we can turn our attention to the sides of the tray. That includes the handles that are on the short sides and the narrow long sides. The first time I made this tray, I had a feeling I might end up making more than one. So I made a template. The great thing about a template is I can make more than one tray, and I can make sure that each side is exactly the same. I can also lay it on my board and figure out which part of the board I'm going to use for this particular project.
I cut the handle pieces to their final length. At the bandsaw, I trimmed out the waste, staying just outside of my line. At the drill press, I cut out the majority of the waste for the handle.
I put a pattern bit in the router, which we're going to use to trace around our pattern, cutting our pieces to size.
After an impromptu router repair to replace a faulty switch, I trimmed the rest of my pieces. The long sides were cut to width and the ends were dated. The tray bottom was sent through the planer and then I cut it to the final size.
We cut our panel to final size, and mine's a little under a 1/2 inch thick. So at this point, I can put together my tray and it'd be perfectly fine. But I want to add a little bit more of a decorative detail to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bevel the bottom of it. To do that, I put an auxiliary fence against my table saw, and I tilted my blade at an angle. That way I can put it against the fence and cut our bevels.
I want my tray bottom to sit just a hair off the table. I used it as a reference so I can mark where the grooves will be cut. Sanding the interior pieces now will save a lot of time after glue up. Don't mind the blur, I want to protect the privacy of the tray owner. The glue up went pretty uneventful. I used some clamps in the corners to keep everything aligned. I sanded the exterior of the tray to 220 grit. I'm using a simple wipe-on poly for the finish. This one turned out great. I love the figure grain in the handle and the book match pattern in the tray bottom. Hopefully this video inspires you to make your own tray. If you do, tag me on social media so I can see it. If you like this sort of content, I put out weekly videos, so please subscribe to make sure you see the next one. Until next time, thanks for watching.